screens looking at the thing, and so I had the the Upwork in the background, but it was covered up by other things on the screen. I didn't realize that it was past 1:30 already. So I looked up at the clock and like, oh no, I'm running late. So
Yeah, no problem.
okay, what I wanted to do, the reason why I wanted to kind of go through a Zoom meeting is I kind of think, that it would be helpful for us to kind of clear up some things because I think that we're getting some things mixed up because I have a different idea of what I mean by things than what you're perceiving. So I thought it would be a whole lot easier to get into a Zoom meeting so that we're face to face and we can clear up things so that we can be on the same page because
Yeah.
there's some things are coming up different than what I'm expecting. I'm like going, well, I can understand that, but that's not what I was meaning by this role or whatever. So the first thing I wanted to get into was the login process. Okay. There was something that you said in the thing that you said that this wasn't going to work, and then you said that the first time that they log in, but I was kind of not I was kind of unclear as what you meant by this wasn't going to work. What is it that wasn't going to work? What did you mean by that?
Can you maybe share your screen and tell me because this is a long time project and I can be confused. So if you
Yeah,
can
yeah.
kind of point me.
Okay, let me share my screen because I do share screen. Let's see, let's go with that one. Okay, share. Huh?
Yeah, I can see your screen.
Okay, because it came up with another screen telling me sign up or sign in. I'm like, wait, what? Okay, I'm gonna bring that down. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna open up this. Okay, it's already open. Okay, okay, so when okay, I'm gonna hop over to global. Now this is where you're gonna see where I'm having problems with. See how it shows up with that text over top of the other text? It's
Yeah.
not appearing on me. So that was the issue I was talking about there. But I can still kind of make it out. But I noticed that this list here is the people that are, let's just say, registered in the chat. What I want on this list here for, like if you come in here and go to the site users and click view all, that's another thing right now. It's coming up in black because you can't see it. But if I do my thing, I can see it comes up with SSO test, SSO test one. So it's coming up with a list, but it's in a different color.
Okay.
So, okay, but anyway, but the list anyway, that's coming up here again is people that are registered on the chat. But this list here should be coming up with people that are in, I mean, oh, shoot, I'm gonna have to try and move. Oh, good, I can do that. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so now this is my site. Okay, and this is the dashboard. I go into the users list. This list here is the list that should be coming up when you click the site user.
Okay.
Is, is there any way to get it to where those are syncing?
I will think about it.
Because technically the registration the people that are registered on the chat, those aren't I mean, yeah, they may need to be registered there, but this list here that's on the site is the list that should be being used for people that are like if a moderator wants to be able to give permission for someone to be allowed or whatever, this should be the list that they come up with for a moderator.
Okay.
And so on, etc. Or if they come to this, that's fine that this is here because moderators generally are can be anybody that's in the club. We'll get back to the moderators, but right now for the time being. So at first I was kind of objecting to this site user being used by anybody because that's giving them a list of everybody that's a member on the site. But then I thought, well, if you're a moderator of a channel, you're going to have access to that information anyway. So then I say, okay, so I don't have any objection to that being there because it doesn't really matter. Okay, so anyway, that being said, now, but with the login thing, um, what part of that is it? Let me see, that should be in right here. Okay, let me scroll up. Okay, and I'll bring this out. Okay, right here it says, you know, you were just basically describing what I wrote in the thing, and then you said this will not work. The first time the user must be authorized with the username and password. Okay, I'm trying to figure out what was particularly meant by this will not work. What is this? What part of this isn't working? Is it the whole thing of logging in, or is it just that you can't pass information back and forth between the chat and the site? What part of this is not were you referring to at this point?
So everything that we should evolve. Um, let's-
You know, I can probably clear it up by asking you some other questions. Okay, for example, are you able to pass information from the site to the chat program in a command line? I don't know exactly, what the site does to cause this program to activate. I'm assuming that there's a command line that it sends to the computer.
yeah,
Right. Yeah, are you able to add a switch to that command line so that you can pass certain information? Because I'm wondering
what?
if you can put a
Yeah,
switch on there, like say a U switch, for example, and U can stand for user or whatever. And then the information that's after that switch, say, could be their username. So when that gets then when the program gets executed, it sees that there's a switch there, and the first few lines of the command of the program could be to interpret that information. Okay, then if it's a username, then it can say, okay, well, that username, I'm going to put that and save that as the username under for the chat program. That's the person that's supposed to be logging in. Okay, now then in your order of commands further down, then it can go start when it starts its login process. It can use that information that's passed to it as if it was the information that was saved in the first place. Okay. Now I realize it might be redundant to say, okay, well, I want to be logged in as Ariana Dragonwalker, so let me do this thing, but the username that I'm logging in on is Ariana Dragonwalker, not what I have saved in my thing. But if
right,
there is, but if they were to execute the program, say like through a shortcut, okay, if I do that right now, that's actually how I brought this particular screen up. I just went into the thing and I executed the file, but there's no there's no slash or there's no switch on that command line. So it just executes the program and it uses whatever's information is already in the files to bring up and say, okay, that you're supposed to be Ariana Dragonwalker and you're using this password. So that's what it logs on as, which is fine. But say if I'm on the site and I say, okay, well, I've got so I go to use the site to bring up the program, it's going to send that information, but it's not going to matter. Why? Because that information, it's the same information that should be on there anyway. But it's
right,
still going to replace it when it sends that information. But it's going to be replacing it with the same information. So then when it logs in, goes to log in, it's going to say, okay, I'm using this username, but it's still going to try and use that same password as before that's already been saved because that password was already saved there. So if that matches with the with the username, then they'll be able to log in. If they go into the site as a different person and they send that and it goes to bring that up, well, that old password is still going to be there. So now it's going to be a different person that has a different password. So it's going to say, nope, this is not going to work. So it's going to come up and say, nope, you're not authorized because it's still trying to use that other password. You see what I'm saying? But
yeah,
overall, that's not so much what I'm trying to do, because if they're on the site and it gets down and they have they have that, if they're logged in as Joe Blow down the road, well, if it goes to boot this up as Joe Blow down the road, they still should be able to use it because they're on the site as a regular user, because they're able to log into the site. But I can still see the password, and I can still understand if they have to put in their username and password the first time. Okay, but after that, it just used the information because it saves that information. But the reason I want it to, when they log in, even if they log in from a shortcut, I still want it to have some way to sync with the site to make sure that they're still a valid user. And the reason I want it to do that is because, let's just say, I'll try and give you a short example. Someone joins the club. I put them onto the site so that they're able to use the site and to use the chat. Okay. Now I find out that they're a really messed up individual. They're causing problems with a lot of my other, members and stuff like that. They're making a bunch of trouble. So I say, okay, you're no longer part of our club. I go in, I remove them from the site, but now they can still use the chat box because it's still a program on their computer. I can't go in and delete that off their computer, so they can go in and log in. Now, if they use the thing and I have them blocked, I go in there and say, okay, well, I'm going to block this person. Well, I can't block them unless they're currently in there because I don't have access to their information because it's not, it's not on the site. It's not in the chat unless I keep scrolling back until I find some message from them. I can't go in there and change their information as a block to block them. But that's neither here nor there. The point is that if they are logged out and they go in, okay, they can create and I think you did take that out, and they sign up or they go in with a different password or a different ID and password, they can still get back into the chat because it's not checking the site to see if they are a current approved user. That's why I'm trying to build that syncing type of thing, because I want to make sure that even old people people that used to be part of the club can no longer use the chat, because it's only meant to be used by people that are currently part of the group and part of the site. Okay. And that's why I'm trying to get that to sync up. And that's why I was trying to see if there was a way to pass that information. If they click on the button on the site to bring up the program, then it should, and it has some way to pass that information of the username that they're under. It should pass that information to the chat. And then, of course, the password is still going to have to match with the ID in order for it to function. And since it's not changing the password, I wouldn't be able to go to someone else's computer and log in as me because it's not going to have my password in their chat on their computer. So,
right.
And we don't want to get it to where it sends the password onto the chat, because that, of course, that can bring up other security issues. So, but I just needed to have some sort of syncing thing to think. Now, to further on with that syncing, that's where I would like it to be able to read their status on the site. Let's go back to, where was it? Here, right here. Okay. Say like this person here. Okay. It should be listed in the thing because it's a current user. Okay. And right here, she's listed as a leader. Okay. So if you get this program to where it reads this particular bit of information, since that person is a leader, they will be given administrative privileges on the chat, because my leaders are people that are assigned in the club, and there's only a few of those. And the only people I'm going to have as a leader are people I feel I can trust to have that sort of role on the site or in the club. Okay. And but if they go to log in on this, if it's reading this, it says, okay, I'm logging in as Dakota, Softleak or whatever, and I am a leader. But let's just say that they decide that they're going to leave the group and or leave the club and they're going to go to another club because they're doing some kind of interesting. They may come back in the future or may not. But I might go in and say, okay, well, I'm going to edit this person and I'm going to change. Oh, excuse me. I'm going the wrong route here. Let me go back. Okay, say I want to change it to where they have a, I'll just use this one here. As you can see, like this person, their membership is inactive. That's because currently they are not part of my club. Okay, and I don't
Right.
want them to have privileges on my site or in the chat. So what I did is I just came in and made them inactive because they may, because this person says, well, I says, okay, this person isn't part of my club, but she wants to be able to have that ability to come back as a student to be taught. Okay, so when she does that, when I come back here, she'll be listed as a member, but her thing will be but her membership will be approved. Okay, so if I change her back to an approved status, then the chat needs to be able to say, oh, yes, you can use me because you're currently in the club. But if it comes up here and it says membership inactive, they shouldn't be allowed to use the chat. They shouldn't be able to activate it or log in. Okay.
Okay.
So that's why I'm trying to get it to where it's reading all this information from here. So those are the key things I want it to verify. Verify who they are, what their status is, and what their status is. And then if they're approved and if they're not in here at all, they're not going to have any accounts. So they shouldn't be able to log in at all if they're not even on this list. Okay. Because that just means that they're not a member. Okay.
Okay.
If they're not a member, they shouldn't have been able to download that anyway. But like I said, if I remove somebody from the club, and I come in here and I delete their thing, it's just not going to be on the list anymore. So at that point, they'll have the program still on their computer, but they still shouldn't be able to log in because they don't have a current account on here. Okay. So, but as far as what role they have on the chat, that should be dictated by this here, whether they're a leader. And this is what I mean here, because with ultimate member, I have to list this as a single word. But what this does in my on the rest of my site is it gives them leader proper it allows them to go places where the leaders are concerned are allowed, but it also allows them to go where people of media control are allowed. Because I have certain people that are allowed to work with the media as far as, making videos, posting videos, things like that. And only my media people can do that. So
Okay.
this person just happens to be a leader, but if this person happened to be just a member, it would say member plus media, but it has to be a whole different role. And that's what I meant in my paperwork, that if it just has leader as part of that role, then that means that they are a leader and they need to have those administrative properties. Okay, so that they can come in and they can monitor the channels. If they have administrative properties, even if I'm not currently on G7, it comes up, it says permission denied. If I'm an administrator, it should not tell me I'm denied. I shouldn't have to get permission to be on that channel. Administrators should be able to go to any channel at any time without permission because they are my monitors. They are the people that have ultimate control. And if there's someone in here causing problems, my moderators don't have the administrative properties to kick them out of the chat and stuff like that. So that's where the administrators have that ability. But let's just say I'm the only administrator. Okay, now this is, okay, so anyway, that's all how that information is syncing and how that information is used to determine what their role is and what their functions are, what they're able to do as far as functionality onto the chat. So the last part I wanted to kind of clear up is the way you're setting up the moderators of the channel would be appropriate for the general term of moderator. Okay, but what I'm meaning by a moderator is they are typically or technically they are just someone that has temporary control over a channel. Okay. I right now, if I'm a moderator on channel 3, okay, so I can go in and if someone wants to be able to use this channel, I'm the person that can give them that permission. okay, as a moderator, okay? That's all the moderator should be able to do. All the moderator does on any given channel is give the other people the ability to be on the channel or be banned from the channel. And that's pretty much what their things are restricted to. It's just, they're just the person that controls who can use it and who can't, okay? But the moderator control is supposed to be a temporary thing. Because see, if I'm at work, I can't make somebody a moderator.
Right.
Okay, and so if say Joe Schmuck comes up here and he goes to channel 8, he can't get in there because he's not a moderator, but there's no moderator on the channel to give him, or nobody on the chat to give him those properties. So if I have 7 people that are you know, that are just members of my club and they want to come in and they want to do a practice their routine and use a group channel to do that, they're not going to be able to do that because they don't have, you know, moderator things. So that's, if you look in the original thing, that's where a lot of the color coding on these things was supposed to do, because it was supposed to tell you what your role was in each, or what your status was in each group. If it's gray, that was supposed to mean that the channel was open, not being used, there was no moderator. And if there's no moderator, no role, or nobody using it, you should be able to click on that. And as the first person to click on that, you're the one that's opening that channel. You're the one that's putting that channel into use. So what it's going to do, since I'm the first one and saying permission denied, it should be telling, it should just allow me into the channel, and I should be made the moderator automatically because I'm the first person opening that channel. Okay, now, so now at that point, if anybody else goes to come into that channel, it's going to show, instead of saying permission denied and having them go through that, it should just say permission requested. And then on my screen, or basically on anybody's screen, it, you know how it comes up with the thing that somebody joined the channel, instead of saying that person joined the channel, what it should say is such and such wants to join the channel. And then the moderator would then have the ability to click on that person, go to the edit role, and make them a member. And if they make them a member, that, or actually what it really should do is when they click on their name, it should just say allow, deny, or, you know, allow or deny. And then they can allow it. If they allow it, that means they become a member. Then they'll be able to see the text, the whole 9 yards. If I push deny, then that's when this symbol should come up and say permission is denied. But the way it's set up right now, say like if I go here, let's see, okay, I'll go, I think I'll use this one as an example, or maybe D2, I don't know. Yeah, okay, I'll use this one. So say I go in and I say, okay, well, I'm going to ask for permission. Right now, what I have to do is I have to go into here, go into group 2, and then join group. Now at this point it says, are you sure you want to? Okay, so I click yes. But what does that do? Now I have access to all the text. It's showing me the text. Okay. But I can't type in there. I can get that. But the problem is that if we're competing against each other and I'm in group 2, or if I'm in group 3, for example, and my competitors are in group 2, I just clicked yes, and now I can see all their text. I know exactly what they're going to do. I know what their routines are. I can kind of spy on them. And I can get the information. I can go back to my own group. I'm going to go back to my own group. Hey guys, this is what they're doing, so we need to counterattack that. So
Okay.
I'm just saying, when you go to join a group, you should not be given access to the text that's in there, because the conversation that's going in there could be a private conversation that nobody else should be seeing. And so that's why I'm saying that if this was color coded and say gray meant that it wasn't, or say green or blue or whatever, the color codes were in the original file I sent you, but that's neither here nor there. But say it's blue, and that means that it's being moderated, but you're not a participant of that channel. So if I click on a blue channel, it's going to come up and it's going to, whoops, excuse me. If I click on a blue channel, it should come up here and say permission is requested. That means that, you know, I'm not part of that channel, but by clicking on that channel, that's by telling the chat program that I want to be able to communicate on that channel. But there's already a moderator, so now I have to ask permission from the moderator to join that channel. but this is what it should be showing, is something, some image like this. And it should not, or even if I go through the channels here and say, if I go into the group and go down to channel 8 and say, okay, and then if I click on this, it should, instead of asking me if I want to become part of this, it should just come up with that other image and say permission is requested. It should not just automatically show me the text that's in that, because I may not be in a position where I should have access to that information. Maybe the leaders and I are in a group having a private conversation about things that we're going to be doing with the club and stuff like that. And we don't want the regular members to have access to that information, because we don't want someone coming in and seeing something and saying, oh, this is going on, and start a big old drama over it, because they may not know the whole context of a conversation. They just saw bits of a conversation and decide to turn it into something that it isn't. And so I really don't want people to just be able to automatically see text into a thing. The only thing that's, of course, it's going to be an exception to that is global. Of course, global is just that, it's global. Everybody has access to that. Okay, everybody that's, registered on the site or on the chat has access to that global chat at any time. Nobody can kick them out of that. Well,
Right.
except for an administrator, but if they kick them out of global, it's because they blocked them from using the chat altogether. Okay.
Okay. So let me work on that part, because if you tell me more, I'm afraid that I can just kind of mess
Well,
up. So
those were the only things I wanted to bring up, is basically just the login process and the moderator privileges versus what's being allowed the way it is. I don't want it to be a something that a manual thing where you go in and select somebody as a moderator, because that's supposed to be an automated process.
no, I got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
let me try to work on it, and I'll get back to you probably on the weekend or Monday with the updates.
yeah, that's fine. Whenever, I mean, I'm sure you have other jobs you're working on too. So, I mean, yes, of course, we want this done as quickly as possible, but, I mean, I understand that you also have other things to do and you have a schedule to meet, so.
Yeah, let me work on that. And thank you for this call. It was really helpful, because you're right. If you just write it down, it will be a mess. So thank you for initiating the call and just explaining to me everything in detail. It was really helpful. So just let me now do my homework and get back to you with the update.
All right, sounds good.
Thank you a lot. Nice to see you again.
All right,
Yeah,
thanks.
bye.
Bye.